want answers.
I want the truth.
Hello and welcome everybody to the Realize Real Lies podcast. I am your host, Georgina Grace. I'm joined today. Oh, it is such a gift who I have on the podcast today. We have today the incredible Jeanette Archer. Janette is a ruling 29-11-2, everybody. So already you're starting to have a sense of who this woman is. This woman is literally an earth angel here to raise the frequency of this planet and all living beings on this planet to a very high frequency of love, a love that actually has not existed on this planet for quite a long time. And the kind of love that Janette lives and breathes and exudes and just pours into everybody is a love that is so addictive. You just want more. In the best kind of way. I mean, if you could be addicted to anything, I think love is probably the best kind of addiction. Love is a healer. Jeanette is also a healer of many, many, many modalities. Specifically a psychic healer. And when someone is a healer, it gives you an idea that they have seen a few things in their life. You know, people are generally, if you're a healer, then you attract to you that which requires healing. And that is absolutely the case in Jeanette's case, unfortunately, on quite the extreme side of that scale. And so today we have on the podcast someone who is, she really needs no introduction, because you will start to see who this woman is, the strength of her spirit, her fierceness, her unwilling to give up, her general FU to anyone that is not, here for the highest good of humanity. Janette, I am so blessed to have you here. Thank you so much for being here and for joining us on the podcast all the way from San Francisco.
Hello, Georgina. Yeah, look at us sitting in sunny San Fran. And thank you for probably the most breathtaking introduction I've ever heard. So thank you so much for that. Almost brought me to tears, but I held it together. But thank you. It's a pleasure to be here, Georgina, and be with you and your beautiful energy.
Thank you so much. I could go on forever introducing you in all the amazing ways, and I'd end up just doing a whole reading for you. But I'd really love to give you maybe an opportunity to share a little bit about your life experience. You, as I mentioned, you're a really, really, really powerful psychic and powerful psychic healer, but this wasn't like a fun kind of hobby that you studied for when you were a child. This is something that came from a very dark place that you have, you're using now to the advantage of the love and for the light. And I just have to say, you're absolutely just the most extraordinary psychic that I've ever seen. Like so, so, so powerful and makes such an instant and profound difference. So I would love to hear from you where these things actually came from and the reality of your life, and, listener discretion, because there may be some things that are shared that are going to rock your world a little bit.
Yeah, thank you, Georgina. Well, I'm a survivor of satanic ritual abuse. So obviously, anytime we talk about this subject, it's difficult for people to hear. But what I always say is you have to hear it and you have to know the truth, because stories like mine, yes, they're historical, but babies and children are still going through this today, as we speak. So we must all take responsibility for that and have the courage to know the full truth of this world. So, as a survivor of SRA, yes, I was born into a satanic cult family. I was handed over very quickly into the elite satanic world and targeted for, amongst other things, one of the most prominent was my psychic gift. And I call it a gift because for me now it is a gift. Yes, I was targeted for it in the satanic world and used horrifically within that world for it. But now I have embraced it as a gift because I can bring so much healing through it, and that's what I do. So unfortunately, though, as a baby being born into SRA, um, they have people in the cult world that can spot the children that are born with these psychic gifts. So we're pretty much taken immediately and put into training. And I was, from a very young age, put into the MK Ultra mind control programming, the Monarch mind control programming. My handler was Klaus Schwab, amongst a few others. I have also the satanic bloodline. So there was a lot going for me that obviously was against me. So I was targeted for my psychic gifts, and I was eventually used as a spy, as a seer. So I was put into rooms and, made to spot who was who and who was, the enemy, so to speak. And I was trafficked all around for this, very much mind controlled, DID'd to use those parts of me that had these abilities. And alongside that, I was also trained as a super soldier because I had other abilities, as in being able to move objects with my mind, for example, and harm people with my mind. So I was used as the soldier and the spy for all of these reasons. And the abilities to do the really dark, dirty work that they made me do, also as a part of the gift that I came with. And I came from a realm that all these powers came with me. Unfortunately, they just landed in the wrong hands. But fast forward to now, and I have been using my gift now to help others and to heal others, guide others, in whatever ways people need, for probably 30 years now. So yeah, that's brought me to who I am and what I do today. And obviously I'm free of the cult. I escaped age 22, rejected all my psychic awareness for a very long time after that. Didn't want to know really through my 20s. And then in my late 20s, I started to think, right, okay, let's explore, let's start working out what you can do with this, because it was like rejecting a limb or two. It's a part of who I am. It is, it's no less a part of me than any of my physical body. It's who I am. So I did start to re-embrace it. But also along those years that followed my escape, I then started to explore many, many therapies for my own recovery and own healing journey. And I had many traditional therapies. I was very fortunate to have two beautiful psychotherapists that worked very closely with me for big chunks of time along my healing journey. one of whom I'm still in touch with today and still, tap in and out if need be. And I looked into and worked with every sort of wonderful holistic thing, there is, that helped me no end. So I had this sort of wealth of experience, 20, 30 years of recovery where I explored everything and anything. I just shut myself away. For at least 20 years, I shut myself away and I just recovered and healed and, kept myself safe. So what I recognized a couple of years back is that because of all my traditional experience of recovery and therapy and so on and so forth, and my psychic abilities, I wanted to be able to help SRA survivors, particularly because there isn't any formulation, if you like, that is really helpful when it gets to the really tricky stuff, the blockages and the DID, and it's so complex working with SRA survivors. And fortunately, there are a few beautiful therapists that I know of that can work with SRA survivors, and they do an amazing job, but it's just not enough. It's so few and far between. So that was my first motivation to think, right, hold on, let's just formulate something with what I've got, that years of experience of my own recovery, plus my psychic abilities. And that's what I did. And that's when I come up with the psychic healing therapy. But it, of course, expanded, and I work with many people, not just SRA survivors. And, it's just beautiful being able to help people from any walk of life with any issues, whatever's going on. Because what we really need to be thinking about is healing the planet, and of course, SRA survivors need so much love and support and absolutely deserve that, but other people do too. So if everybody on this planet could start to heal, that vibration does raise significantly. And then also the darkness dies away. It just dies away. So every time someone speaks truth or a survivor breaks their silence, that truth that's being spoken, that is the divine light that is coming through, from the divine onto the planet. And it's like a million times stronger than their dark energy. So it just crushes it. So, it's happening, this momentum's happening. And this is how we're going to free this planet of the satanic reign.
Mm.
And I'm just very happy that I can be a part of that. Put to good use what was, the most horrific time in my life.
Mm. Just need a minute to take in how inspirational you are and how moving that is. Because I've listened to a couple of interviews that you have done and heard a lot of the stuff that you have been through, and ooh, to go and those 20 years of locking yourself away, focusing on healing, and oh man, like healing is not a pleasant process. As horrific as the actual abuse is, healing, oh, it's a lot. And yeah, it takes a long time to really work through it all. And you do, and being through what you've been through, there isn't anybody with any kind of experience that you can't work with, right? Like you can work with the whole
Yeah.
kit caboodle. There's nothing that you can't hear. There's nothing that you can't be with and recognize and see, and so it's just so, so, so profound. Um, I'd love to go back a little bit, and there are some like terms and things that you said that I'd love a little explanation on for people that are hearing this for the first time. You mentioned Klaus Schwab. Um, so much about that man, but you said that he was your handler. Can you explain what it means to be a handler or to have a handler?
Yes, of course. So it's very common in the mind control programming that you will have your handler. We are trained to call them Papa. So that's a really awful trigger word for survivors. But so Klaus Schwab was Papa to me. And in fact, if any of you have seen the series Stranger Things, it's very significant in there. That series is based on mind control for the mind control program. So the handler side of things. So, for example, Klaus Schwab would have been in charge of my mind control program. So he would have been the one calling the shots. He would have been the one that lays out the plans of today she'll be tortured, this afternoon she'll be raped, and then we'll put her in a room for 3 days in isolation. And, so they're the experts, if you like, in how to mind control a child. So, most children of my caliber, if you like, the spy, the super soldier, and so on and so forth, will have a high level elite handler.
Yeah, I mean, that makes sense. And like, I just really want to reiterate that you came in to this world, to this planet with these gifts. Then they recognize that and then honed them and wanted to use them for their advantage.
Yes.
It's brutal. It's absolutely freaking brutal. But being a 2911-2, Jeanette, it's kind of part of the intention of this energy. The 2911-2 ruling number is someone who specifically gets sent to the places that need that frequency the most. And that is absolutely the case with you. And but also I think that you definitely needed those gifts to be honed for now, for what you're doing now as part of the healing of the earth. So it's kind of like, thanks very much. In a way, like
I mean, I think the gifts would have been just the same whether would have landed there or not. I think the reason why I landed in the satanic world was to gain the knowledge of the satanic world. And then now I can do what I'm doing to heal it. So whether or not that's speaking out publicly, which I chose to do 4 or 5 years ago, raising awareness, exposing satanic ritual abuse, that's what I do. I expose satanic ritual abuse. That's been my job, if you like. So, I mean, getting into the really sort of, if we're really, talking about the sort of spiritual side, yes, I volunteered. I come from what is the angelic realms, which is called the seraphims, which is the sort of golden light levels. And I stepped forward, let's say, volunteered to come and do this, went through everything I went through, and I always knew my purpose. I always knew that, even from a child. When I was being tortured, for example, or going through horrific rituals, I would leave my body and I would go back to the angels. So I would sit there and play as a small child, I would sit there and play with little angel children. And there would always be an angel mummy. I used to call her the angel mummy. And I used to say to her, please, can I stay? And please, can I stay? And she said, no, you have to go back. You have to go back and you will understand why. So I always had these knowings, even as a small child, going through the horrors that I went through. And then I would say, I don't know, late teens, early 20s, maybe after I escaped, I started to just remember my purpose, so I always knew that this was my sole purpose, to expose satanic ritual abuse. And so many times over the years, people have said to me, look, Jeanette, just step back and don't put this pressure on yourself. And I just, always have to respond with, but it's my purpose. Of course, I'd love to have just spent those 20 years recovering and then just gone and, laid on an island for the rest of my life and not have to deal with people or anything at all. I'd have probably just opened an animal sanctuary and adopted children. And, of course, that would have been the idyllic way. But I didn't come here from where I come from, go through everything I've been through to then go, right, okay, I'm done, I'm out. So, it is part of the purpose. I know my soul purpose. I'm very, very connected to that, which is why I do what I do with the psychic healing therapy, because that's another way that I can help this planet to heal and help other people to raise their own, levels of healing and inner peace and love and joy, etc. So, yeah, I think the psychic thing would have just been there regardless, obviously. What they did teach me with honing it their way was how I don't want to use it. Because to take the light, which is obviously what they do, they invert everything, okay?
Yeah.
So to take the light and then try and use it for darkness, that's their attempt to keep control of the world. That's under that umbrella, that generalization of taking the light and turning it to use for darkness. That's generally what they try and do across the board with everything, which is why they hurt children, because they want that pure energy of a child, that innocence, and take that and turn it into something demonic, So, yeah.
I'm so glad that you explained that. And I didn't mean to be insensitive before when I said thanks very much, but
it wasn't insensitive.
No, I just felt stupid for saying that. But
no.
It makes so much sense what you're saying, because I would always think that, like they're honing the psychic ability for their specific da-da-das. But I love that you're like, no, I have this regardless. They can't touch that. But I had to go to those places to eventually expose. And
yeah.
What a thing to sign up to.
I know. Tell me about it. Do you know how many times I've gone, oh my God, Jeanette, what were you thinking? Well, I'm not coming back again, that's for sure.
I'm done. Yeah,
I've done my bit. I mean, if you want to look at the advantage, what they did do by making me do all the things and training me in the way that they did with the mind control is they showed me just how powerful I am. So I may have known that. I may have obviously always known that I'm psychic, but I wouldn't have known just how powerful I am. And that power that I know I have keeps me feeling very safe, and it gives me a lot more understanding as why they don't try and kill me on the spot, because they know it's like a contract, they know that they will suffer immensely if they do that. So they daren't try and do that. So one time when I was going to a Rothschild's country home thing to expose them, because I used to do a lot of events, so I would go to their residence, like I went to Buckingham Palace, I went to Windsor Castle, and I would just stand outside and tell people what goes on inside. So there was a time when I was heading to this place in the UK, the Rothschild zone, that is a horrific place. And I was taken there a lot as a child, and they've got all the underground tunnel systems, and reptilians are there. It's horrendous what goes on there, and it's heavily guarded. But I was going because it's surrounded by what we call National Trust here in the UK. So it's public place where you can go and walk on the land, let's say. Okay. It's far from the house, but we were going there to do this event this day. And because my connection to the Rothschilds as a child, they know who I am, they know what I am, and they did everything in their power to stop me because they were scared about me going there. So I basically got stopped en route by MI5, MI6, they're satanic police basically. And what happened was brutal. They attacked us, they tasered my partner, they smashed my car windows. We were attacked, thrown in cells for 12 hours. And I mean, it was horrific. But I also found out that if they hadn't of stopped me that day, there was a sniper waiting for me when I got there. So they were going to try and injure me, harm me, do whatever somehow. But they know as well that it will be more cost to them if they kill me, which they would find it very hard to do because I do have that ability as well to heal myself. So, it's a very layered, complex thing, but this is the reality of the satanic world that is reigning on this planet. And this is really what everyone has to face and understand the absolute truth. We can't just stop at bringing awareness to the fact that children are being raped, tortured, murdered, adrenochrome, having their blood drunk, they're so addicted to adrenochrome, it's disgusting. There's so much more to satanic ritual abuse. There are the off-planet abuses, there are the underground tunnel systems with, the reptilians and the greys and the dracos. And, there's so many species, for example, underground colonies of species. So people now need to start recognizing who's who on this planet, because obviously there's a lot of people, false idols, for example, false gurus that are satanic. People need to start really, really having the courage to face the absolute truth of satanic ritual abuse and what it means in totality.
What does it mean in totality, Jeanette?
Well, and this is what I've always been a pioneer in doing, in just not holding back. I will speak about the reptilians. I will speak about the colonies underground, because I was there. I lived underground. I saw it all, So the totality is that everything I'm mentioning, it's so complex. But if people don't learn, it's like the art of war, isn't it? You have to learn what your enemy is.
Mm-hmm.
So the totality is that if we put it under an umbrella, their end goal is to destroy humanity and keep a section of it for what they want, as in human meat, human blood, and child sacrifices. And then just have complete control of planet Earth. Right. That's the totality of what they want their end goal to be. Hence, you've got all these things of the last year's scam-demic craps, and, that's like a little mini genocide going on with what they're shoving in people. So they've got this end goal, and they're just trying to play out all these agendas to get there. The good news is they're not going to win, and they're not winning. They're now losing, and they know they're losing, which is why a lot of these elite ones are scurrying off like little rats to their bunkers. So, we have so much power in our truth. So this is why I'm also trying to help people discover their truth and their soul purpose, because when you've got that and that, you're so powerful. Every single person on this planet Earth at this time in history that is aware is here purposefully. It's no coincidence that we're all connecting. So the light is getting stronger and stronger and more powerful and more powerful. And we're destroying these evil scum non-human things, you
Mm.
know. So that's the reality. We are at war with the satanic reign on this planet Earth at this point in time. But we're winning, we're gonna win, and we will see planet Earth free of Satan.
Can I ask, what is so special about planet Earth? I mean, obviously, it is very special. This place is amazing and beautiful and all this kind of stuff. But what's the deal? Why are they so obsessed with taking it over? And like, yeah.
I believe they targeted planet Earth for the human race because of what we can provide them. You know, we can be their slaves. I mean, look at slavery already, wage slaves,
Mhm.
people that are out there robotically doing their 9 to 5 and lining their pockets, you
Mm.
know, the elite pockets. So it was for the human race. It was for the children and, you know, our meat and our blood and so on and so forth. So yeah, I would say again, putting it under sort of general umbrella, it was the human race as to why they chose planet Earth.
Mm. We are the special thing that they want.
Yeah, we're useful to them in the way they like to eat our meat, like cannibalism. They like eating human meat. They like drinking adrenalized human blood. They want our children. And we were easily manipulated.
Yeah.
You know, the masses that have still got that on their eyes. So I would say that's why they chose planet Earth. Um, yeah, it wouldn't have been for the beauty of Mother Nature, let's put it that way, because they don't see that.
Yeah.
You know, we see that as humans, but they don't see that. So I would say yes, it was for they targeted planet Earth for the human race, which was well established.
And so going back to your experience, you mentioned that you've seen these things underground. That would have just been absolutely horrific as a child to see these crazy, inex unexplainable things. Okay. Can you maybe do a bit of a like these are the like the structure of, because there's a certain power structure, right? And then and it's like your everyday what we see on the TV, but then it goes, and then maybe what the role of like your, I don't know what I'm saying here, but like your role in that as a child that they're trying to program, and what that programming gives them, over the masses, right? Because they did that make sense whatsoever?
I'm getting there. I'm getting there. Yeah. So you want to know how they function underground and what their purpose is there.
Yeah, maybe just like if you could break down the power structure that you experienced, and because you mentioned Klaus Schwab, or he's someone that's that a lot of people think is a good guy, uh, that is really here for our benefit and our health. He's
Try
not
not to
he's not
hyperventilate.
the only person that you came across, you know. Yeah. So just, because people may be hearing this for the first time, or are still brand new, and there are still people that they see on TV that maybe they think are trustworthy. And so just would really love to be able to break that down. Like, so, you have the person on TV, but then above him, there's this person, and then above, and then like that, and then all the way
Yeah.
up and to
Yeah,
where.
I mean, yeah, okay. So above ground. So if you see it like a pyramid system, which
Yeah.
is why they love the pyramid symbol as well. So right at the top of that, you've got 13 bloodline families. Now you won't even know their names. You would never have seen their faces. They are hidden, but they are the ones that are actually running this planet. Okay. Generally speaking, the majority of them will be reptilian shapeshifters. Okay. So go on.
Sorry, and you said so those 13 bloodline families that you said would be reptilian. At the beginning, you said that that's your bloodline.
There are a few different bloodlines, yeah,
Okay.
for sure. So mine's more in tune with the royal families, my bloodline. So I haven't got reptilian bloodline. I have royal bloodline. But here's the crossover
Mm.
because our royal family, for example, here in the UK, who I was a victim of continuously as a child, they are shape-shifting reptilians. So in a way, if you took all the bloodlines, it's like DNA just in an average human, isn't it? You're always going to trace it to this, and this. I don't know what a true actual reptilian blood would even be. Would that even show up in? I mean, I just don't know. I don't know that kind of biological side of that.
Mm.
So yes, I mean, of course, it's all going to cross over. Of course, it is.
Mm.
Um, but I would never sit here and say, yes, I've got reptilian blood. I mean, it's not going to happen. No, I
No.
have definitely royal bloodline. So there are a few very strong blood groups, blood types within satanic ritual abuse elite level. So you've got the very top, and then obviously you have got the royal families. They're all involved. They're all involved. What goes on in royal estates and castles and so on and so forth, all these grand properties that they own is horrific. The atrocities that go on towards children on children is, if someone doesn't have a clue about this, it would, horrify somebody for a very long time. But again, people have got to be brave enough to hear this stuff because it's going on.
Mm.
What do we do? Do we just leave the babies and the children and go, sorry, I can't cope with that? It's not okay. We're all responsible for every child on this planet until they're safe. So then obviously you have the names that are out there that people do know, and that's the American presidents and the vice presidents and high ranking Hollywood actors, the music industry. I mean, look at Taylor Swift. I mean, that poor child, and I'm going to say it in a way because she would have started out as a victim. Now she's an adult, she's doing horrific things. She is mind controlling her audiences, which just horrifies me because they're filled with little children.
Mm.
Um, the mind control that goes on, even with the colors they use, yeah, I won't go too much because I don't want to dissociate myself, but the frequencies in the music, the colors they're using, the sets that they're using, there's so much there that is just pure mind control,
Mm.
and satanic ritual esque. So yes, you've got the likes of Taylor Swift and these Hollywood faces that would have started out as victim children, and they'd have gone through the mind control just like I did, and have never been able to escape because they give themselves to the industry, and the industry is satanic. So it goes down, it goes down, it goes down, and then you've got your sort of your Freemasons, which go from the man on the street that hasn't got a clue what he's signing up to your 33rd degree level Freemasonry. where, their initiation is to sacrifice baby, but there's many layers before that where they are marrying little boys and raping little boys and, doing horrific things. So, and then it just filters down to, the average Joe on the street that is their lackey. There were many of those. My grandfather was a cleaner for a royal estate that I was taken to, a farm, for example, and he would be the one that would have to, bury the bodies, burn the bodies, clean up and so on and so forth, provide the adrenochrome for the next ritual. And so, yeah, it's literally a pyramid structure. And then obviously underneath that, the other way that it inverts like this is your underground. And then underground, if people could see with X-ray eyes what's underground, you would see a whole other planet Earth, like the structure underground, the tunnel systems, and the transportation from one country to another, for example. Their technology is beyond anything that people even know exists at the moment because they haven't released it all fully yet. Back in the 70s, I was being teleported, transportation underground from one country to another in minutes. Or that's how it felt to me. It might have been half an hour or whatever, but they have technology that would just, again, blow people's minds. But it is time for all this truth to be out in the world and for people to want to learn.
Thank you so much for sharing that. And far out. Okay, so let's then go to so at the top we have these 12 bloodlines, and they
13.
are sorry, 13.
Good old number 13.
Good old number 13. And so they're reptilian. And then under that is the royal family. So the royal family in the UK is the one that you were used by a lot. And so was Miss Queen, was she the top of that before it got to? No, she's part of what's her role?
So she was the high priestess within the royal family, yes. So because between these 13 bloodlines and the royal families, you've got Rockefellers, Rothschilds, that level as well. They're above the royal families. Okay. In my recollection, the royals would actually take orders from them. So the royal families, yes. So yeah, she was the high priestess. So for example, if I was used in a ritual for them, which was often, I would be laid out on a concrete slab and being prepared. I would have been prepared days up to that. They do like a cleansing initiation where I would have been chained up and starved and, many things. And so when I was on the slab and the Satanists were all around and, the chanting was beginning, she would always be the last one to come out because she was the high priestess. And then once she was out, she would then shapeshift in front of me. And I would see her shapeshift to reptilian form. And this is the thing that people really need to understand, because there's a lot of religious deception that people believe, and maybe it's because of cognitive dissonance, but also people just take these religious books word for word as gospel, how they can't understand that of course it's going to be corrupted. Of course it is. Maybe not all of it. Of course, there's some good in all of these things, but it's been corrupted. Of course it has. It's their planet right now, and it has been for a very long time. So one of the things, the big deception about reptilians is that they believe that a human, so let's take her that we're talking about, the Queen, ex-Queen of England, and they believe that a demonic energy comes down and somehow transforms them into a reptilian. It could not be further from the truth.
Mm.
These are reptilians. Reptilians are not just a demonic energy. They are an actual species, like us. They've got a skin, they've got a body. I've lived underground with them. They stink, they're disgusting, they're horrible creatures. The reptilians have the capacity to shapeshift into human form.
Mm.
So let's just get that clear right from the start, because this isn't a case of she walks out as a human and somehow gets possessed by a demonic energy and looks like a reptilian. No, no.
She is a reptilian.
She is a reptilian. They are reptilians, and reptilians are as much a species as you and I.
Mm.
So, um, so there's a lot of deception because that's what they wanted. They want people to be deceived. They've succeeded, unfortunately, and they've used religion to do it. But
Mm.
again, this is where people have got to start knowing the truth. And who better to learn the truth from than survivors that have been there and done it? So, yeah, don't know if I answered the question because I've forgotten where I went with that.
I forgot what the question was as well. Um, but
So I hope I did.
you answered it, whatever it was, I'm sure. But okay, so these people, no, these are reptilians that can appear as humans. Maybe that's why they need our blood, right? Who knows? But there are humans that do get willingly possessed by Satan or Lucifer or whoever. Yes. And
Yeah. So a human can allow, I was going to say allow. So the ones that want to allow it, the Satanists, they can allow demonic energy to come through them. Yes, of course. Yeah.
why in the heck would you do that?
Because they believe that Satan is their savior. You wait till they die, they're in for a big shock.
Yeah.
Satan's not saving anyone. I can trust me. And
Oh,
he's not nearly as powerful as people think either.
no, well, he has to hide in the shadows, in the darkness where you can't be seen. And yeah,
Yeah.
that's crazy. Okay. So far out, Jeanette. And you saw all of this, and they would have these rituals, these big ritual parties, whatever. What was the purpose of these things?
Well, I suppose if you sum it up, it would be to worship Satan and to honor Satan and to offer sacrifice to Satan. It's all around, Lucifer and Satan and worshiping that. But then you've got to look at, the other issue is, it's like when you said about maybe that's why they need our blood because they shapeshift to human and reptilian. They don't need our blood, but they do need our blood in the way that they're addicted to it. So
Mm.
they're addicted to adrenochrome. It's the most powerful drug on the planet. If you see, and I saw this so many times as well, they start drinking the adrenochrome, the adrenalized blood from a tortured child, okay, that's filled with adrenaline because they've brought that child to complete terror, the peak of terror, and kept that child there over and over, and then drained the blood and drunk it. So that's adrenochrome. They're so highly addicted to it. When you see a person, a thing, or whatever, addicted to adrenochrome, drinking it, the reaction, they just turn into a very, very demonic thing. It's like a squealing sound that comes out of them, and yeah, it's horrific what goes on in rituals. So, and again, I forgot the question. So, yeah,
Well, I just asked what the purpose of these rituals
the
were
purpose,
for.
yeah, yeah.
Yeah, yeah.
So
To
it
worship.
is the worship of Satan, Lucifer, and so on and so forth. But there's all the other little components, not so little, but adrenochrome. They're also cannibals, so they eat human things. So that's also, the sexual side of it. Orgies. I mean, yeah, all of the above, really.
That's horrible. And do,
Mm.
is it like planning things? Do they get together and plan what they're going to do next with you? Or is that a separate thing that they do?
But the rituals, do you mean?
Yeah. Oh, for what they're planning for humanity next.
Yeah, I mean, I remember many times as a child being sat in rooms listening. To these meetings. So all these agendas were planned probably 30, 40 years ago,
Mm,
plus. It's highly organized,
mm,
and has been for a very long time, which is why we're in the situation we're in, which is why they've got away with it for this long. It's highly organized.
mm.
It's there's nothing on this planet that touches it in the way that it is the most highly organized crimes against humanity.
It is every facet of our life, isn't it?
Yeah. Yes, they have infiltrated every institution there is,
Mm.
but not for much longer.
No, no, absolutely not. Far out. And this is why you had to spend 20 years locking yourself away, healing. And that's, I think Max Lowen says healing yourself is the most revolutionary act that you can do because you
Yes.
take back your light, you take back your power. And I think the thing that a lot of people don't realize is that maybe they haven't had such horrific abuse, in their life as children or early adolescence. That doesn't mean they're unscathed, though, does it? Because we are being attacked like from the moment we become pregnant, firstly. But then when we're born, it is every angle we are pushed this way, pushed that way, trained this way, programmed with the television, whether it's a movie that we're watching or the music that we're listening to or whatever and it's all trauma based, isn't it? It's all to traumatize us and to fragment us into smaller pieces because the more fragmented we are, the easier we are to control. And this has been done to us very subtly, but also not so subtly once
Yeah.
you wake up and see it, um, for a really long time. So, regardless of whether you've physically had the experiences of or not, it's so layered.
Yeah. You don't need to be a literal survivor of satanic ritual abuse to have been affected by the satanic agendas. So everyone on the planet is a victim of satanic ritual abuse, either directly or indirectly,
Mm,
because it is so woven into humanity now. And they spent a lot of time and effort doing that, a lot.
mm,
So the most powerful thing, like Max Lowen says, is healing yourself first and foremost. because that undoes everything they've done.
Mm.
Whether you're me, you, or anybody else, you have to heal yourself. Even let's say you were lucky enough to have a wonderful childhood, no trauma, so on and so forth. You've still been abused through the TV set, through music, through food, through water, through your education system, your schooling, your university. You've been programmed, you've been controlled. And the list, I could go on and on and on. So, yes,
Mm.
which is why we have to do what we're doing and take responsibility to heal ourselves.
Mm.
And then we go on to do whatever the sole purpose is to heal this planet at this time in history.
Mm. It's so, so, so important. And it's really sometimes I think, not I think, sometimes I say to people that the invisible abuse is sometimes the hardest to work through and deal with because you don't necessarily have physical evidence for you've been abused, and so I think for people that maybe that's their experience, it's maybe just have a look. Maybe just have a
Oh,
look
definitely,
and
definitely explore.
explore and just see, what parts of your life do you feel like you don't have power over? What parts of your life do you feel like you're really stuck and can't move? Or, you know, I I share this little post on Instagram. I often share things that are, you know, I'm going to ruffle some feathers, and I don't know, I can't even remember what it was, something to do with putting your kids in daycare and da 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 da, all of this stuff. And I always get a few people respond to these things like, well, but I really love working my full-time job as a mum of a young baby, so, and that's fine. You can totally love that. And both parents be working full time when your baby's like really, really, really little. Um, but why do you love that? Why do you love your full-time, working full-time? What's behind
Yeah, leaving
that?
the child.
Yeah, yeah.
You know, back in the we could go right back to sort of 50s and 60s when they brought in an agenda to liberate women to go back to work
Oh,
and to, women's rights and voting. And of course, all this stuff's important. Of course, it's important for women to be equal. Of course, I support all of that. But people have to see the manipulation in the agendas that are being brought into society. That was to weaken the family unit.
mm,
It was to take the mothers away from their children. And when you think about this in a very basic, primal sense, when a woman gives birth to a child, and of course, I'm generalizing, and I'm not undermining women that suffer, post pregnancy and can't bond. Of course, please know that I have compassion for every aspect here, but I'm giving you a broader spectrum of an example of an agenda. So when a woman feels like, well, I can go to work and I can do this and I can do it all, and they're being taken away from that bond they've got with their child, because when you're away from them for 8 hours a day, of course, you're not bonding with them in the way that you will be if you're having your baby close to you.
mm,
And I also, of course, understand I was a single mum. I raised my children by myself. I get it. I'm not sitting here saying, well, I don't get it if you have to go to work. I understand all of that. But within all of these supposedly well-intentioned progressions, there are satanic agendas. And now look what's happening. Now look at what social services are doing. They are stealing babies because the family unit now is so much weaker. They go after the single parents. They go after the parents that are away from their children and their children are in daycare 24/7 because they can target a child to make them look vulnerable. And so much they can, create lies about that the child isn't in safe hands and so on and so forth. So there's agendas in everything.
Mm.
And at the moment, we are seeing agendas on this planet attacking our children, attacking our teens, attacking our young adults, playing out left, right, and centre everywhere. And it's horrific. So, what I would just invite people to do is when you're so hooked into, yeah, but this is who I am and these are my rights, and, I was born into the wrong body, and, now I'm going to ruffle feathers, but, everything, I'm not excluding anything. Okay. Every single one of these things, of course, there are always genuine circumstances, but you're being brainwashed. You are being mind controlled. So every time you think you're a genuine person with that agenda, question it. Question everything. Do some deep dive soul searching. Because I promise you, 90%, probably 95% of the people on this planet and I'm going to use this agenda again, that think they've been born into the wrong body, they haven't been. There are genuine cases, but most of them aren't. They have been brainwashed. And I'm using that as an example, but there are many, 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 many agendas like this that are playing out on our planet, and they have been scheming this for a very long time. You know how many Hollywood idols are the opposite sex to what they're being shown to be? The women are men and the men are women.
Mm-hmm.
What they do. They do it in the satanic world right from the start. Right from the start.
Mm.
And when you've lived it and grown up in it, I can see these things very, very, very clearly. And we've all got to just be brutally honest and start going, is there something else going on here?
Well, I mean, what a way to desensitize a population to shapeshifting when they eventually
Yeah.
want to be out in the open. Of course, you can identify as a reptilian. Why not?
Well, why not? If you can identify as a cat, you can identify as a reptilian, of course. Like you say, we saw it. They know exactly what they're doing. People have got to wise up.
Mm. I really love that we're having this conversation, and I love that we are inviting people to heal and look at themselves in the mirror and do the dirty work that it takes to heal themselves with the motivation of the absolute truth that's going on. You know, it's so, so, so important. And you can't, like, you are a survivor of this. You have been there. You've seen these things. Who in their right mind would make this stuff up, and do you know what I mean? Because there are people that go, oh, she's just, I don't know, making it up, or it just like it for someone to live their whole life, dedicated to making this up. For what purpose? What are you
Well,
possibly going to get out of this?
yeah.
Like standing out the front of Buckingham Palace. Like, what are you personally getting out of that? So you cannot deny the things that you have been through and that you've seen, and I have compassion for people that want to do that, because that means that you're very likely a human being, that your brain goes to, no, this can't be real. However, Unfortunately, yeah, this stuff is really, really real. And, it's a kind of war that we don't actually need weapons for, that they think that we need. But if we're focused on the wars with the weapons, then we're not focused on our own healing, which is the true weapon.
Yes. And there's a little saying that I love, and it is exposure is their greatest fear, and silence is their strongest weapon,
Mm,
which is exactly what you've just explained. And that what they fear the most is being exposed and people breaking their silence, survivors breaking their silence, which is why they put so many hours and hours into torturing us so we wouldn't.
mm,
So any survivor that's being able to speak out, is nothing less than a miracle after everything they did to make sure we wouldn't. But with the world in general, this is exactly how we win.
mm,
Yeah, there are times when we may have to do something physical. We may have to defend. We may have to go and rescue a child, whatever. But generally speaking, yes, saving this planet and bringing down the reign of Satan is about first and foremost healing ourselves,
mm,
finding our soul purpose, and getting to work.
mm,
And having the capacity to recognize everything they've done and everything they're trying to continue to do. Because when you can educate yourself and have the courage to go, oh, I might have been a bit misled here, for example, they lose their power.
mm.
And it's game over. If every single person on this planet suddenly knew what I know and what we know, it's game over. They're done. That simple.
Mm. It's really that simple. And one thing that I really love is I used to really think that love was like the highest frequency that existed. And it is a really high frequency, but actually, I recently learned that truth is the highest frequency. In fact, truth vibrates at a frequency that is 400 times higher than love.
Wow. Yes. Okay. Amazing. I didn't know it was the numbers on that, but numbers is your world. Um, of course, the truth is how we win this planet back. The truth
Yeah.
is, and that's what I was saying in the beginning, because the truth emanates light.
Mm,
And the light that comes from truth is so much more powerful than any level of darkness. You can't even touch it. You can't touch that light. The
yeah.
darkness can't do anything to it. So the truth is what empowers us all to take this planet back.
Yeah.
And that's what I say to people. Doesn't matter how scary it feels, you have to find the courage to know the full truth.
Yeah. And that I think starts with having the courage to know your own truth.
That's where we go full circle. That's where it begins.
It
It
is.
begins, yes.
Yeah. Because when you're vibrating at your highest truth,
Mm.
you just become an absolute radar for truth. Jeanette, you're just absolutely the best ever.
Thank you. Thank you.
I'm just so grateful to be able to have this conversation with you and connect. Who was I speaking to the other day? Um, a woman that I actually did an interview with, and I shared with her that I was interviewing with you. She was like, how are you getting connected to these people?
Oh, it's meant to be.
Meant to be.
And
Um,
you know what? You're my first interview back. I haven't done interviews for about, I took a break and I haven't done an interview for, it's got to be 6 months. Well, it might be 4 to 6 months anyway. I can't remember, but you're my first interview back.
Oh, that's an honor. That's a real honor. How's it been so far?
No, I've loved it. I've loved it. And I always knew that I would know when I got asked for an interview, I would know when I wanted to say yes. And I said yes to you.
Oh, I'm so grateful. I was a little bit nervous coming into tonight.
Oh, why?
Just, always wanting to make sure I'm asking the right questions, not saying anything stupid. And then, of course, I end up saying many things, many
No,
stupid
you haven't
ways.
said anything stupid, and it's been an absolutely beautiful interview. And do you know what? It's helped me. Um, Hold on, no, that's not the right word. It's given me what I wanted as well because I took a break from interviews, and I knew that when I came back to doing interviews, I wanted to bring in different energy because, of course, my interviews have been very much, the details of everything, but we're needing to evolve, and I don't mind at all talking about what I went through, and of course I have to share that. That's who I am, and that'll always be a part of my interviews. But this energy of this interview was exactly what I wanted to bring when I started doing interviews again, and that's why I stopped saying yes to interviews because I knew the interviewers weren't going to be the right energy that I needed to do what I needed to do. So again, you see, that's me knowing my purpose. So I
Mm.
had to wait for the right interviewers to come around again. And you were the first one that I went, yeah, I'm going to be able to do what I need with Georgina. So yeah.
Oh, I'm so glad. Oh, that's awesome. Well, I'm very
Yeah.
glad to have been the conduit for you to do what you needed to do and to get
You've
from
been
this.
amazing.
So, so great. I really, really appreciate that the angle at which we spoke about the need and the necessity for healing, for people to heal themselves and start this journey. Because yeah, it's so important now more than ever to do this. And I mean, far out, like the way we win the war is you ultimately love and accept who you are as your true essence and let that light emanate and resonate throughout the entire world and all the people around you. I mean, that's who wouldn't want that? Do you know? Like, that's amazing.
There's the irony. Because we've been taught that to win wars, it's got to be ugly and horrific and atrocities. But that's how we win the war, exactly what you've just said. We are at war, there's no doubt about it. We're at war for our planet and for our children. So there's that you've just said. And what runs alongside that is speaking the truth about what they're doing and so on and so forth, exposing them. So
Mm.
if you take that self-love journey and exposing what they're doing and having the courage to know the full truth, that's it. That's
Mm.
all you've got to work on.
So, so powerful, Jeanette. So powerful. And you were saying something very profound there, and I'm so sorry, but my brain did an out of body experience. I realized that we're in front of the Golden Gate Bridge.
Yeah. Best interview ever. I'm going to put this on in all my interviews now, and it's going to make me smile because I'm going to remember this one.
Wouldn't it be great if I could just hop, skip, and jump over and because I'm just on the other side of you.
Yeah, I know exactly. Exactly.
I'd just love
God,
to
I'm
come
going to
over
make
and
it a
be
theme.
like,
I'm going to make all my interviewers put up this background.
I didn't want you to feel alone and you're out there watching the sunset. I want to watch the sunset with you.
Exactly. It's beautiful. For me, it's the sunrise, and for you, it's the sunset.
Yes.
Your evening and my morning.
So, so good. Well, I would love to give. So, talking about healing, you are a healer and a bloody profound one at that. I can vouch for this. I have had a couple of sessions with you, and holy guacamole, it's deep and it's deep quickly, and the effects are instant and real and very, very, very powerful. Um, so I would just love to give you an opportunity to share with people what you do with them. I know you've been sharing along this whole thing, but specifically about your psychic, because you do psychic readings, but also psychic healing, and those two are slightly different, right?
Yes, they are, but one tends to lead to the other. So I offer the first initial psychic reading. Now, quite often within that reading, we don't just chit chat about your mum's maiden name and what your first car was. It's not that kind of let's prove to you that the spirit world exists reading. I work with a guide who is extremely high realm as well. And he has a lot of knowledge, even with, physical health, emotional health, psychological trauma, and so on and so forth. So take that and then my experiences of healing and recovering. So typically, a reading will show someone if there are any blockages. And like you said, it gets in fast, it gets in deep. So what can sort of take months and months and months in traditional therapy, and not knocking it because I've benefited hugely. It just depends where you are on your journey. So if you're at that point where you can handle that intensity, and that's why I always say people don't land with me and my guide for no good reason. It's meant to be. So if you do end up with me, it's because you can handle it, and that's the right part and time on your journey. So yes, what can take months in traditional therapy, my guide will show me, and between us, we just literally will give you that right information of what you need to unblock. So generally speaking, readings, yes, of course, you can come to me for readings and ask about your career path, or, if you've got a problem with your children, or, something general life stuff, of course. But if you want the deep stuff, and for example, you want to know what your soul purpose is, because this is where we're at on the planet now. So many people have done so much healing and recovery, and now they're soul searching. Well, what am I meant to be doing? So the soul purpose thing is a big part of our readings.
Yes,
But then
it is.
inevitably, yeah,
Thank
yeah.
you very much for that, Jeanette.
Yes, exactly. You've been there on the receiving end and you've been incredible. So the inevitably it can then go into people wanting to then come back and do the psychic healing therapy. And that's where we really start to heal the wounds. And we really get into finding where those wounds come from. And, because a lot of people as well are struggling with this. I know something terrible happened to me. I know I was abused. I can feel it. I know it. I feel it in my body, but they haven't got the actual visual memories, for example. So we will help them piece their puzzle together. Because when you have knowledge and understanding of who you are, your healing just accelerates. The not knowing and the not understanding and the confusion, it can hold people in a place of where they're stuck. So yes, that in a nutshell, that's how I work, and that's how I work with my guide. And I mean, I love every second of it, because this is now where I can be absolutely true to my authentic self and put everything that I have learned along my path and my journey together with my abilities. And that was my formula, psychic healing therapist. And yeah, I'm just helping people day in and day out, and I just feel so, so grateful to be able to do that because I know the impact it's having on the planet, and for individuals, that's the love that I can bring.
Hmm. And it really is so powerful and so instant. And I really, really love the way, well, I'll just speak on my behalf. In our first session, I got very present to a big truth, part of my soul journey. And it was so big for me to accept this. But that truth, as you've been explaining through this whole conversation, that truth is like a huge light. It just shines all the way through. And when there is light shining all the way through you, you can't ignore it. But also, what you get shown is where the light doesn't get through, where those blockages are. And I mean, that's absolutely what's happened for me when this big truth came through in our first session. But it's so, and I think that's part of the reason why it's so powerful and so instant is because it shows you instantly where the blockages are. You can spend a long time trying to just figure out that you have blockages and then a long time trying to figure out where they are and what they connect to. But this, the way you work, the way you heal people, it's like an expedited process. And so I think that's why you've got to be you've got to be ready for that.
Yeah, yeah, for sure. And I trust completely that if somebody reaches out for a reading, a healing session, therapy session, then they absolutely are ready for it, and it's never failed yet. It just doesn't work like that universally. You don't, the energy, you just don't, you wouldn't land with me if that wasn't the right thing. Another little favorite saying of mine is when the student's ready, the teacher appears.
Oh,
So you,
love that.
yeah, you'll find me when it's the right time.
That's amazing. I might steal that.
You, I give it to you as a gift.
Thank you so much, Jeanette. And so, where can people find you to book in?
Yes, so I am literally in the next couple of weeks finishing a website that I've built, and I've taken forever because it's not my forte, but I'm finally getting there. It's almost finished. So my work is on there. The other thing that's going to be on this website, and I will share it with you, Georgina, the second I've got it, is I've put together literally a hub of, it's a hub where survivors can go as well for trusted therapists, and holistic treatments and so on and so forth.
Oh,
And it's a hub of information and education on SRA.
mm.
So that website's about to be launched, and my work will be on there. In the meantime, I have got a little Facebook page that I set up, in the last few weeks that people can just go on that link and find me there. But generally speaking, if you want to just shortcut straight to me, it's just drop me an email. Just drop me an email. All my whether it's the website, whether it's Facebook page, whether it's Telegram, because people can find me in Telegram. However, people contact me for my work, I will always say email me at, and that my email address. So obviously we can give people the email address, and that's where the booking system begins.
Awesome. Okay. And so people can, what are the names of your Facebook page and your Telegram page?
So I can drop you the links anyway, so you can put them in your thing. But my Facebook page is supporting SRA survivors.
That's what it's called, supporting
That's
SRA
that's
survivors.
yeah. So that's my big Facebook base. Okay. My recent little thing that I've just set up is Jeanette Archer, I think psychic readings and psychic healing therapy literally does what it says on the tin. And my Telegram group is exposing satanic ritual abuse.
Yeah.
And then my email, jeanette.21@live.co.uk. And website to come.
Website to come. Amazing. Thank you so much for being here, Jeanette, and sharing your wisdom and your truth and your healing. Anyone who listens to this is going to receive healing just by virtue of listening to your frequency, because it is truth. Truth is so healing. Thank you so, so, so much. Was there anything you wanted to leave people with? One last little anything you wanted to just give people?
I think what I would like to leave by saying, first of all, thank you, Georgina, for having me and being the brave, inspirational woman that you are, that never shies away from the truth. I appreciate you and thank you for being that on our planet, and so much more, obviously. But just what I'd like to say to people is, whatever it takes, face your truth and face the truth of the world, whatever it takes, because it's worth it.
So beautiful. Thank you so, so, so much.